2024 USD 489 board meeting. And I will start with our approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor vote yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed vote no. All right. And then at this time, I will ask Dr. Yarmer if he will read our mission statement.
The mission of USD 489 is to provide a quality learning experience for every student in every classroom every day. To support the mission of the district, the USD 489 Board of Education includes supporting a vision that encompasses 1. High student achievement, 2. Highly effective staff, 3. Effective and positive communications, 4. Effective management of resources. Also, vital to keeping focus on the district's mission and vision are that the USD 489 Board of Education supports the district's core values, being a champion for all kids, bringing your best every day, carrying the banner for your school and district, and selling and creating possibilities and opportunities for students for their futures.
All right. Thank you. All right, and then that brings us to our consent agenda. Mr. Wilson, do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, a whole list of things there. Of course, you have the board meeting minutes from our last regular meeting on February 19th. You have the HR Hayes Rec minutes, an agenda of financials that you normally see every meeting. There is a unique one there under gifts. That is a new scoreboard at Hayes Middle School, which has been it will be placed out at Hayes High, which will eventually become the Hayes Middle School scoreboard. Temporarily, it's going to be utilized for the high school. I know the graphics you have says Hayes Middle School, but there's going to be a plate that's going to be placed over the top. It's going to say Hayes High School for a period of time until it's fully transitioned over to the middle school. But it was entirely donated through contributions from Next Tech and Thirsties. They shared on the project and are contributing to that and updating that scoreboard. The scoreboard that was there is pretty old, pretty not operating at a functional level. We needed to upgrade that. So very fortunate and feel very blessed that Next Tech and Thirsties, two businesses in our community, have stepped up. So wanted to take note of that. Also, personnel transactions are included. One retirement that I'd like to recognize, Janice Brown, who is a physical therapy assistant here in the district for 32 years of service. Has done a wonderful job in our district, and we're appreciative of her service. I'll leave it there.
Just can't say enough about Janice and the work that she's provided for the co-op. 32 years in one spot is phenomenal. She's just a great heart. She was part of going to Wichita with the weekend crew. She was invited by one of the students to go because of the connection she had. Just a wonderful community.
Also, on the consent agenda this evening, you have the personnel transactions for the addition of the Russell personnel who will be added starting next year. We've kind of separated those out from our normal personnel transactions so we can keep those highlighted. Those are the individuals who will be coming on to our district starting next year. So, once again, Kyle, is there anything that you want to add?
Just that people that are joining us, that makes their teaching staff whole over there. So we'll be able to, every position is currently covered for Russell. We'll be bringing on classified staff here soon, so let's go to figure out details for them. Unless there's questions.
Next three things on your consent are the federal continuation grant for early Head Start, and as well as the self-assessment report that was included, as well as the director's report. So that's what's in the consent.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to pull 2.4, please.
Okay. Jess, if you can make that 5.5.
Thank you.
Just one note on the financials, just because of the timing of the way the meetings fall, there was a late addition today. We couldn't do the investment report until today, so if you looked on Friday, that wouldn't have been in there yet. We just added it this morning. And that's also where we track the sales tax revenue that goes towards the loan repayment.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I would so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor vote yes.
Yes.
All those opposed vote no. And I'm asking a lot of tests here. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, I'm working on it. There you go.
It took a minute to refresh. All right, and that brings us to our public forum part of our meeting. Do I have anyone here that wishes to speak? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, just another bond update. Things are progressing well at Roosevelt. Actually, I gave a tour to Derek last week and saw a lot of things that I think really they're coming to a close in the renovation part of phase 3. That phase will be turned over to us here next week. So we'll spend spring break kind of removing the office into that area as well as the nurses' office into that area. The nurses' office will be in the actual permanent place that it's going to stay. The office will be relocated to a temporary spot. So it'll be there until the project is finished. And so, but as far as the addition, the new addition, it's really coming together. You can actually starting to see pretty much it's all framed up, and you can see spaces and hallways and things coming together. So it's really good. The gym is well, I guess they've got it rocked, so it's all enclosed, roof's on. They've got a base put in, and so it's really coming together nicely. Out at the high school, once again, it's just continual, just a lot of work on the site, pouring of footings and forming up, and it's coming along nicely. So the wind can stay down. They would appreciate it. That's usually what I hear from the guys out there is the wind's just killing them.
They enjoy it.
So, or get a little bit, just a little bit of rain, not a lot of it, a lot of rain. They don't want a lot of rain. They just want a little bit just to dampen some of that dirt that's flying around. Last week, we did a KISA check-in. This is part of our accreditation process. This process that we're moving to, and Shanna's shared with you previously, it's a new system, but we had our first accreditation visit February 28th, and they're calling them check-ins. And it's not necessarily about it's just more of checking in on what we're needing and support and things like that. So we included some information on Shanna. Anything you want to add?
No, every system across the states assigned KISA executives, so Amber Miller's ours, so she came and did the check-in, and like Ron said, that'll be an annual event, and then we'll also get together with some other like systems once a year and have a school improvement day for some peer feedback. So that's part of the process moving forward. And they're still trying to iron out specifics and some of the details, so when all of that has been decided, I'll make sure I bring it back to the board and share where we're at going forward. So.
Just a quick legislative update. Last week, the legislature was, I learned a new term. They were pro forma, which basically means I think it's kind of like being on spring break, I guess. They take a little break. So there wasn't a lot that went on. But there were some bills that came were still introduced, so there must have been some people working, not everyone was breaking. So I included some of those bills for you to look at. The one I would probably highlight that I think is important is the transferring teachers from the Capers 3 to Capers 2. That's something I think is important. When we talk about recruitment and retention, trying to get young people into the profession or keeping them in the profession, when they created this new tier for the new people that have joined Capers when they come on to joining as a teacher. Capers 3, just the long-term gain probably is not as much as it should be. And so there's some talk, at least there's some talk, and hopeful that we can get some movement there of moving some of those people back into Capers 2. Hopefully that will gain some traction, because I think that's important to our profession as finding good young educators, is getting them to understand this is something that will pay off, if they stay in it for their career. So we're hopeful that. And some of the other bills I've included, and if you have questions, I'll try to answer those. I'll have Chris talk a little bit about the Section 125 plan document that he has visited with you about before, but just some updated information on that.
So if you remember, this is the conversation about creating that second plan document for aides and carers to be able to define their full-time benefit contribution towards health care or health insurance, so to basically be able to get them to full school day. We have, based on guidance and the conversations earlier, we've been working with Ingle Law, who is the benefits attorney that draws up our plan document. They are close to having that done, with the last couple sets of details going back and forth. We also work with our broker, who is Gallagher, and then Mike Howell, not with Gallagher anymore, but still working on broker. So working with them, a lot of back and forth between them and Ingle, really, to get the plan document developed. We should have it by the next time we meet, so we'd have a plan document ready to approve. We are also in the process of really close with insurance committee meeting tomorrow, at which time the brokers we deliver our health renewal will be. We know that renewal, while each individual tier becomes its own conversation, but the overall renewal will be 6.5%, which is a very favorable renewal trend for the state, is 14 or 17, something like that. So a pretty favorable renewal. Once we have those individual plan rates, then we can go back. The next step would be to calculate the individual impact on any of the current full-time paras to be able to bring to you whatever those individual rates would be to offset any changes. So all of that to say, we're getting really close. By the next time we sit down, we'll be able to have action item for you to accept the new plan document and create that second.
Chris, is it still going to look like it's going to stay in the budget that you thought it would be?
Yeah, yeah. Based on where renewal is, again, it'll be a little bit different. Each plan will change a little bit, but based on the total renewal, yeah, we're gonna be well within range. If not, maybe even a little better off than we thought.
Just this afternoon, attended the Kansas Teacher Retention Recruitment Summit. Alan represented the board. I thought it was a very good information. Once again, that was the survey information that I shared with the board a couple meetings ago. We spent some time looking at the state data, trying to come up with some ideas of why certain things were the way they were on the survey on the state. We got into our specific district data. We had conversations around the table. Thought it was very good, and then basically ended up on just maybe brainstorming strategies and ideas of things that we could probably look at possibly in the district to help with recruiting and retaining our teachers. So I thought it was very good. That was a good afternoon, good conversation. Alan, is there anything you'd like to add?
I think it gives us an opportunity to look at some of the things that we've done that have helped with retention, and there's a lot of things that we can leverage with the bond, and we've talked about that, but that's been very positive. So I think the idea of getting together and talking about and asking the teacher's opinion and continue to gather data is going to be helpful. If we just continue to do that, we can keep showing our teachers how much we value and appreciate them.
Well, Mr. Wilson, what was the attendance?
Wasn't very good, no.
10 school districts or?
There were 3 school districts registered, and 2 were only there. So he told me, I had to visit with him afterwards. He had had a really good-sized crowd in Topeka. Said over 50 people attended in Topeka, and districts from all around came to Topeka. And he indicated Olathe and Shawnee Mission came all the way to Topeka to attend. So I was a little disappointed we didn't have more people in our area, because it was really good information, and we're all battling the same battle on recruiting and retaining teachers. So I think he will continue to come out to Hayes. So hopefully, maybe next year if he does again, there'll be some opportunity for those districts. Just the last thing, ECC had some celebrations I think that are noteworthy and we need to celebrate. They recently had 2 state award winners and a scholarship winner. Jade Staub, who is a teacher at ECC, was named the Kansas Head Start Teacher of the Year, so congratulations to Jade. And Misty Graham is the Kansas Family Leader of the Year, so congratulations to them. And then Gabe Stanton received the Kansas Head Start Alumni High School Senior Scholarship, which I think is really impressive. I assume, and with Dawn probably, he is probably someone who attended there, correct?
Yes,
That's what
yes.
made him the alumni.
He was
So
in Sandy Bannon's class.
there, so very cool to be able to recognize a senior student, and so neat, very neat. So congratulations to all of them.
All right. Any questions from the board before we move on? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. We will go to action discussion items in 5.1. The policy approval that, second reading, is this right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Who wants to give us a little information on that? Anything we need to talk about?
Well, these are the policies that we shared with you last meeting. I'm pulling up the policy, actually. I thought I had it open.
Yeah, graduation requirements and early graduation.
Do you have anything, Shannon?
No, just that, I mean, the graduation requirements are part of the task force, so that's happening at the state level. We're just saying we're aligning with that. And then the high school continues to do work, so the course guide, those things, as they work through that, we'll have more details about the classes. And even at the state level, the FAQ, we're still taking guidance on some of those things. But this just talks about, well, will be required starting with the freshman class with graduation requirements. And then early graduation, we just want to leverage that post-secondary and IPS, individual campus studies, so we added those pieces.
Okay.
Mr. Brooks or Mr. Wilson, I asked last time when they came to present what the STEM elective courses that we were going to offer that were in that scope at Hayes High, and I received nothing since then on that.
I just got an email today from Hayes High, and so Sean and Becky couldn't be here. They said anything in the area of science, math, ag, construction, manufacturing, health science, and possibly even AV, web, and digital.
I'd appreciate it. I mean, if they would have sent me something so I could have looked at it before now, as I had asked for.
They do have a link to the course guide that I can share. I'm sure it's a working document, but that's where they'll flesh out a lot of that and have those details, which we usually look at, to get into the year. So that will bring back to you, so you have a better idea of how all those requirements will work. But that's what they have at this point.
Was it sent to KASB for them and their attorneys to look it over?
I have not sent that to them. Which, we're just changing the requirements, but definitely.
All right, my concern is, okay, the electives, and we're going to dictate a couple electives, but if that affects our hands-on courses, our VOTEC, and that's an enrollment issue, then that's why I wanted to see what classes would work in that deal, because kids are going to belong to something, and we only have so many kids, and they can only, and even before I retired, you know, if they were going to be, an example would be a 4-year music student, their other electives were narrowed down to 1 or 2, and so I have a concern about kids when they want to go to high school, if we're going to not allow them to explore and find their niche because we've narrowed it down so far. That's why I was hoping to receive that list. So, and maybe I'm glad to see practical arts still on there, but if I knew the STEM was a broad range, and we're still gonna, maybe a kid's got to go there that they would never go to find something they were interested in, but that's why I would have appreciated seeing that list.
See, and I view it as they'll have more choices because it'll be leveraged with their IPS. It won't be so narrow saying we have to take, you know, like computer tech or some of the requirements we had that were different from the state. So it really, to me, gives them more flexibility.
But we added financial literacy that wasn't on there before. I mean, it's a give and take thing. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to visualize what those STEM electives.
And part of that is just as the state's still giving guidance and looking, we don't want to say something too early and then not have looked at everything. So I think they're looking at everything to make sure everything's on that list and we don't lose sight of one.
I understand.
So we can, I mean, this is, again.
But I knew this was going to be the second reading. That's why I asked for it prior to now, so that I was informed. You know, even an email that said, hey, we're still working on them or something.
If we table it to our next meeting, is that going to cause any issue for you?
Well, it's not an issue just because really the requirements are going to change. And so
Right.
our policy needs to align. It's not timely in that regards.
Okay, let's do that. I'm going to move that we.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I would move that we table it to the next meeting, and when we receive a list of the electives that would correspond to work for the STEM, if we would receive that for the next one and put that back on the agenda. So I would make a motion to table it till next board meeting.
I second.
All right. Anybody else have any discussion?
Yeah, Shannon, I have a quick question for you. So with the kids, they're freshmen, how many times a year do they meet with their counselor to go over their
They do it in the spring, and then we always have fall enrollment where they can tweak it and change things, and then semester if needed, like that's more on as needed.
Okay, so they're good at keeping up with the requirements that the child has to look at moving forward for graduation requirements too.
Yeah, we'll have it built in this system where we have to make sure that all those things are mapped out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they have to, we still do it with I call it the homeroom teacher, but it used to be seminar, I don't know what it's called, GPS now, but we used to do that with the kids all the time. I'm sure that's being, and then we moved to student-led conferences, and I know my kids have been going over it,
Which is this week, I think they're having.
but they went through what they're planning on taking the next year too as well, so.
And I think they're good at, I know my daughter just went through some courses she wanted to take next year, and her counselor said, with what you wanted to go into your field of work, you can't do this. You have to stay focused on science and math, so that's what she did. So I'd have to say that the counselor was good at staying focused on where she needed to be as a sophomore, so.
Yeah, based on.
And they do that twice, don't they, in the high school, that career summary or whatever that, interest, yeah.
Yeah, and Kurt, you actually want a list of the courses as of now that would fill the STEM requirement, is that what you said?
That's correct.
Right, okay.
I would
And
like
that's
to
what I had
get,
asked for.
if you could have a KSB look it over, we pay for that service, and they might as well take advantage of it and have them look it over. I'd feel better if I knew that they
All right.
looked it over well.
Okay,
So
well,
I do have a question. In the past, students, when they got to the point where it was time to pick their electives, a lot of students would have the concern of, well, I want to take this elective, but it's full. So they put me in this elective, but it's full, so they put me in this elective. Is that going to happen with those STEM electives? Like, what if, are we going to have the teacher, abundant, I don't know, the classroom space to make sure that kids get those, since now we're requiring?
Well,
Does that
that's
make
why I
sense?
think they've opened it up to include so much, like science, math, ag. If we look at our students now, they're probably taking one of those. So, I mean, that's something that I think definitely they'll look at number-wise, but it doesn't prescribe when they have to take it either, so they have
Got it,
all
yeah.
4 years. So I know that that's just part of, scheduling every year is to make sure you have those requirements, but I haven't heard that they feel like that will be
An issue.
a concern. Because I do think there's quite a few electives that fit that STEM elective.
And is it STEM or is it STEAM? Is art included or is it just STEM?
It's STEM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shauna, do the teachers that teach anything considered STEM have to have any certification or special class curriculum they've had to take to
For
be
STEM.
qualified? Yeah,
Well, they'll have to be qualified in their area, like whether
Right.
it be health science or AV, some of the digital.
but they don't have, there's not a STEM
No.
add-on or something, okay.
No.
Okay. All right, well, we have a motion and a second to table this. It'll be tabled to the first meeting in April. All those in favor vote yes?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. All those opposed vote no? Okay, hearing no nos, we will move on. I believe it's approved. It's so 5.2, outside walk-in freezer at Hayes Middle School.
Yeah, we just need to replace a freezer at Hayes Middle. It's currently inside. We want to move it outside to create some more space. So it's kind of in bad shape, and so just get a new freezer.
Do you know when that was originally, or
No, I have no idea. Jessica, do you know?
how old is that freezer?
As far as I understand, the box of the freezer is original to the building. The actual freezing unit was purchased several years ago, 7-ish years ago maybe. But the box is what's falling apart, causing lots of problems for the staff and the maintenance crew. So, yeah, and we opted to move it outside because there's room, and then that'll free up some space inside for more prep space for the staff, and they can spread out and not have to work in the cafeteria in the mornings. They can stay in the kitchen and get their job done, so.
So the plan that would be used in for the next school that will be in that space?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we look at everything, that'll be, when it's an elementary school, we will still need that freezer space. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to accept the bid from Sunflower Restaurant Supply for $26,750 for an outside walk-in freezer at Hayes Middle School.
I second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Was there more than one bid?
There were two bids.
we got two bids.
Two
The
bids.
one was from a national company that was just like, that was $20,000 just to install it, which is nuts. So, the one we're going with is out of Salina. We've worked with them several times, and they've done good work for us, so.
Didn't you send out 5, I think?
What? I sent out 6, yeah.
That's what I read.
And we got 2 back.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor vote yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed vote no. All right. Hearing no votes, it is approved. And we will move on to, and thank you. And we will move on to Midwest Energy contract approvals.
So we've got, I guess I'd start with saying Midwest has been a great partner through the bond process, and historically and everything else that we do with them. They're a great partner. Through the course of all the different bond projects going on, obviously the new high school has to have the main power supply coming in, but there's also other places like at Roosevelt moving at O'Laughlin moving things. So as they sat down with the entire scope, we start off with about $500,000 worth of just work to do to get power and gas to the right places. Right off the top, they write off the first 100,000. And actually 3 of the 4 contracts that we're signing today don't have any cost associated with them. The one contract that we do have that has costs associated with it is at $214,000 to get power to the new high school. And even in that one, they're bringing the power in, they're putting a temporary transformer on site to be able to do the construction with, and then they're taking that transformer back out and bringing in the right size stuff, but they're not charging us for any of the temporary transformer. So the contract really in question today is the contract with them to get power to the site, $214,000, that'll be a capital outlay expense, but necessary obviously
Is
to
that-
keep on everything else going.
Is that for the wire installation of bringing it to the building?
All of it, and actually most of it is the giant transformers that will be sitting there when it's all said and done.
The copper wire's not cheap.
Yeah, the company, yes, you're correct there.
So
But-
this is not, this is out of the bond, or it's not out of the bond?
No, this is a capital
Capital
outlay
outlay.
expense, yeah.
And this covers lighting, not just in the school, but outside of the school as well, parking lot?
Right, this is
a
bringing
football
in the
field,
main,
everything.
yeah, this is bringing in the main power to the site.
Okay.
Yeah, any of the, like, the lighting inside and the parking lot, most of that stuff will all be part of the bond project, the building of the schools, this is just getting the power to it.
Chris, why is that not part of the bond, part that's there? It's
Yeah,
not
just
part
so
of
that it wasn't
the
a part of
expense
it.
that they figure in their,
No,
To
no,
put
that
power
was
to the
part of us to
building?
get the power there, yeah, I mean, I suppose you could do it either way, right, but it wasn't figured in, we didn't calculate it in as a piece of the bond. We anticipated from the beginning, we would use capital outlay money to get power to the site, and then let the bond take care of building the building and put the lights inside the building.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Yep. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the bid for Midwest Energy to provide permanent power and electric meters to the new Hayes High School site for $214,120.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to say thank you to Midwest Energy. Again, great company to work with, especially they wrote off the first $100,000 was pretty cool on their behalf, so hats off to Midwest Energy.
I got a quick question that doesn't have to do with other utilities, the sewage, water, is that gonna be, is that part of the bond? What part of the, I mean, can we expect more of
Those are all part of
Those are all part.
Those were part,
Gas
okay.
and things are
Okay.
Because they're all there and we're
Okay,
tied into the
all right.
systems, I mean, they have to add for the.
So you had to come off of 13th Street, we had to drag it from 13th Street, I would assume. Or did they even bring the electricity further than 13th Street? I bet they had found
I
out.
don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Flip the switch and it turns on, that's all. What do I want? I just want to flip the switch. That's all.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor vote yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed vote no? All right. Hearing no no's, it is approved. And we will move to 5.4, K through 5, student and staff iPads.
We're just on the replacement schedule for new devices for K-5, for students and staff, and so Scott's here to answer any questions.
Well, good evening. I'm Scott Summers, the IT director for the district. What's in front of you tonight? It doesn't seem like it's been 4 years, but we're back to elementary iPads. We replaced them, actually, I think the last set was right before the COVID shutdown, so it's kind of wild how fast time moves. But what you see in front of you tonight, the 1630 is the complete replacement. The case at 1500, I think the note's in there. The difference in that being that we case the staff iPads different. We don't go with the full keyboard case for staff. Part of that is because they have the laptop, they don't need the keyboard case. The other part of it, we look for a case that has the handle on the back, so as teachers are carrying around and presenting, the keyboard cases don't really play well to that. So we'll get that one still figured out, but that's why you see a difference in cases versus iPads there. I guess if there's questions you've got
Do
brewing.
those kids, Scott, take those iPads home like the middle and high school at that age group?
They do not. The K-5 iPads stay in the building. They are set, they're managed, so should we ever have to cross, that boundary again of sending them home, they're ready to do that. So we would manage them the same way should we have to.
Okay.
How
What
was
about
our durability,
pencils?
I'm sorry, how was the durability of the last 4 years?
Actually, pretty good. As we're hitting towards the end here, we're more battery issues, but you know, that's really not unexpected after 4 years of use. What we've elected to look at here, the replacement is the Generation 9 iPad. That is a matching generation and case, both match the 700 and some that we rolled at the middle school a few years ago. So we will have the same device K through 8. So as enrollment fluctuates, we'll be able to shift devices back and around.
So these are Generation 9s?
They're Gen 9s.
And when did middle school get?
They're Gen 9s.
They got Gen- So we'll
Yeah.
have, so our staff would be, it'd be easier for the staff to work on them all because they're doing the same thing.
Yeah, and realistically, on the iOS standpoint, they'd all run the same iOS, so even if you move up to the Gen 10s, it would be similar. Really, the biggest point that stopped us looking at the Gen 10s, the price wasn't that much more, but with Generation 10, they delete the headphone jack off of the iPad. So we'd either have to get headphones with USB-C ports, or we'd have to get adapters. And we kind of discussed and thought if we can kick that can down the road another 4 years, so that we don't have our K-5 teachers managing adapters.
Probably made some
Just
elementary
another
teachers
piece.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott, what was the, you remember the price? Because I remember when we approved this, it didn't seem like it was 4 years ago.
I know.
So what's the price point look like? Is it better or
It's
about
actually,
the same? Or?
it's a little bit better. That's why we're presenting it tonight. Normally we don't, it's a little later on in the spring, but Apple does have a deal right now, so I think they're at $675. Normally, historically, since we bought, I've not seen that price under $294. So there's a little bit of savings, but it's only good through the end of March here. So I think it's about 40,000 in savings. So
Awesome.
that's why the presentation tonight, to get it to you, so we can save a little bit of money there.
Can you explain the process that you use to, what do you do with the old
Yep.
units?
So the old units, we've got a few recycling companies I've worked with. Last one, I think they're out of Oklahoma City, but we don't even really have to wipe the iPads. We do, but we don't have to. We just get a list of the serial numbers. The recyclers will collect them. They will grade them. Most of ours, I think we average a grade about a B, B minus normally, wear and tear on them. The things they dock us for are, broken screens, so we try to keep those out of the mix. The just rubbing on the case, we've been able to eliminate that by going with the ruggedized cases on them. And then the other thing they'll ding you on is if you laser etch them, because some districts do laser etch with their district name on them. So if you do that, that's an automatic deduction. So I'd say historically we average about $50 an iPad. When you're purchasing them for around $300, that's not too bad of a cost. Of the iPads that will be rolling out this summer, I do say this, it's been 4 years on the student. It has not been 4 years yet on the staff. And the reason for that, in just looking forward at our rotation schedule, we were trying to move staff up a year, so we don't have that big expenditure next year. So what we'll do with those devices that are 3 years, we'll either hold those back in reserve for spares, or if we don't need the spares, they will actually pull a higher resale value. So
The recycling company, they give you a bid and they compete for that?
Yep. I've got 2 or 3 of them that we've worked with that have been pretty fair to us. So
Awesome.
I put it out to the 3 of them and let them fight over it. There are some districts that choose to recycle within the community. That's always an option too. I've run into problems in the past where you try to sell as is, but some people don't really get that, and they're knocking back at the door years later or even the next month, because they're 4-year-old iPads, battery's bad, and next thing I know I've got somebody back complaining that they don't like the iPad we sold them. So sometimes it's just easier to offload them with a recycler and be done in one swoop with them.
Now, do we purchase pencils for staff or students if they want them, or is that out of their department budget, or?
We haven't in the past. All the iPads are capable, so if they want to, I'm that's not something I'm opposed to. It's just, we haven't, I guess,
Other
had the
requests?
interest in the past, so. But they would be capable.
And
So
what
they
kind of
can-
warranty do we have on these?
Get those in their own budget.
They'd come with the 1-year manufacturer warranty. Outside of that, you can buy the Apple Care. We have historically not done Apple Care. The middle school devices do have Apple Care on them. We purchased those with ECF funding a few years back. ECF allowed us $400 per device. Anything past that was the district's responsibility, so we were able to get them in at, I think, $435. So we were paying $35 for those. I will tell you, Apple Care normally runs about $100 a unit. And if you look collectively across our fleet of iPads, we don't spend $100 in repairing every iPad. So for us, I did that with the middle school iPads because that federal funding was there to cover it, but for bang for buck for us, it just doesn't work out. We come out money ahead by just repairing.
Now the value is less than $300.
I think also, just with elementary iPads not going home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just less risk.
Plus, elementary students are not in middle school. So.
Yeah, middle school, carrying them home, that's a whole different ballgame, so that's.
Yeah, I see some of them going down the street with them. You're like, huh? But no, I think elementary school, I think maybe we're at less than 10 broken so far this year. And those are normally because they fall off a desk, or a kid lays them next to desk, another kid steps on it. Nothing malicious or intentional about it. It's all accidental.
Okay. All right. May I have a motion on this? Did we have one already?
I don't remember.
I don't think we
No.
did, yeah.
I would move to accept this bid from Apple Education for 1,630 iPads with cases for $604,695 for K through 5 students and staff.
I would second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no. All right. Hearing no no's, the motion passes. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, and then item 5.5 was pulled out of the consent agenda. Mr. Viner?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. On gifts in general, do we have a policy, what we accept, don't accept?
There's a policy, I don't know the number or the letters, but it's, that the board will acknowledge that a gift has been received. So that's the policy.
So,
And that gift becomes the property of.
Yeah, it's just basically you're saying, once by acknowledging that the gift has been received, it becomes district property. So at some point, using the example, not that it would happen, next tech can't say, we want to take our scoreboard away.
yeah, when I think about it, what if we would, okay, I got two scenarios. What if somebody gives us a gift that we probably really don't want their name on it? Is that in a policy, or we don't want their sponsorship to reflect on our school district?
Are you saying like an inappropriate?
Yeah, or whatever, who knows anymore? Is there-
The board would have.
We would say yes, no to that gift,
Yeah.
okay.
You don't have to.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, then my other question, do we have a contract with them
No,
on a gift that,
no.
okay, we have to have it up for 10 years, or we can do whatever we want?
Yeah, our policy says it becomes our property to do whatever we want.
And we can do whatever we want,
Yeah.
and we can take their names off, we didn't like their names, or,
Well,
I understand, I like both businesses.
we don't have a contract, so no, there's nothing that says we can't take their name.
I understand it.
That's not what the intent.
I understand that, I
And
know
I don't
why
want
they're
that to
giving,
come across that that's what we'll do.
no, but that's why they're giving the money,
No, we don't-
and I get it.
Greatly appreciate.
I do
that
too.
they stepped up.
And I know both of them, but I just, someday down the road, something might,
Well, yeah, that's what the board would have the ability.
And the other deal is, we promised them 15 years, we promised them They don't have to hang?
There were really no promises. I
Okay.
mean, the scoreboard's going to be there. The scoreboard that's there now has been there for probably, I don't know, 30 years.
Yeah, that's not my issue. My issue is, what did we promise?
Say that till those get installed.
It's policy KH,
But,
if
yeah,
you'd
I
like to
mean,
read it.
if they're doing that one, I can see scoreboards in gyms, I can see scoreboards at the football field, I can see them at the baseball field, I can see the, you know, and if we get, and if we have businesses that, hey, I didn't know we could do that, we want that field, and we've already taken,
Hey, we have plenty of opportunities.
I understand that.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
put their name anywhere. So.
And-
yeah,
I have concerns about putting their names
I
anywhere.
don't have a problem putting their name somewhere. They
Yeah,
want to donate something.
and really, Mr. Viner, it does read that it's our property, so we can do
Oh, I
whatever,
understand.
so.
But there is a policy, do you,
KH.
KH.
KH?
I do have a question about this scoreboard. Are we gonna have all of the, do we know where it's coming from so that if it breaks down, we have someone to contact for repair services and whatnot? Like, is it from someone typical? Was
Yeah.
there, okay.
Yeah, it's from a vendor who we use for, well, it's purchased through a vendor from another company, but yeah, we would have the ability to work on
Okay.
It would,
it. My hope is we won't have to work on it because we've been working on one continually for the last 5 years. So.
or do, I would assume most of our outdoor scoreboards are the same kind of company?
No.
Well, they did, one's this company and one's that company, I mean,
There's one for the old soccer field that had closed down, so we couldn't get it repaired for,
okay.
it just skipped a bunch, 8 seconds at a time. It was fine.
But like the baseball field, when we redid the baseball field, did they get a scoreboard? Or just
No, we
this was
didn't do a
turf deal?
scoreboard. They have a scoreboard. We did not do a
Okay,
scoreboard.
all right.
What's going to happen to the old scoreboard? Is it going to be sold, or are we going to keep it for somewhere else if we have another field?
I don't think it would
Someone
last.
that's foolish enough, well, I shouldn't say that.
Well, it's
If
currently
someone
working.
wants a really great deal, they can buy a scoreboard. It would be great to hang in your basement. Yeah. Except you're gonna have a really big wall.
Yeah. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that we accept scoreboard presented to us from Next Tech and Thirsties.
I second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I'm just going to call for a vote. All those in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no. All right, hearing no nos, it passes, and thank you, Thirsties and Next Tech.
Absolutely.
Very exciting.
Yes. And so we do have an item for executive session. And so I'm going to make the motion that we move into executive session pursuant to Kansas Open Meetings Act for the purpose of matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representative or representatives of the body or agency in order to protect the district's right to the confidentiality of its negotiating position in the public interest. And the open meeting will begin, the executive session will begin at 7:23, and it will include the board, Shanna, Ron, Chris, Kyle, and Mr. Jeter. And so that, I've made the motion, may I have a second?
Mr. Chairman?
30 minutes.
Oh, for 30 minutes, yes, I'm sorry. Okay, so we will go in at 7:23, so 7:53.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I would like to discuss where we're going to have this because I just attended a boardmanship and the lawyer, the director of Kansas School Board, and the other two presenters said we need to move executive session to another location.
You had brought that information to me, and we've had some discussions. At this time, we're going to stay in here. In the future, we'll look at it. I'll talk with Mr. Jeter and see what his thoughts are, and then we'll go forward from there.
Isn't the meeting room down there available still? The one that we haven't used
Yeah,
hardly at all?
It may
It's
be,
right across
but
from the bathrooms.
tonight we'll stay in here, and like I said, we'll discuss it with Mr. Jeter and decide how it's best to handle it in the future.
If we do decide to extend, I would like to make sure we open up the door, because last meeting,
It was open last
I know
night.
you opened the door, we didn't invite people in, and all the public,
People came in.
plus the people on here need to have an opportunity to see us vote. And we voted, and I didn't see anybody walk in.
People came in.
Okay. All right, I have a motion. May I have a second?
I second.
Okay, do you have a say? I made the motion?
I-
That's why I read all that. And then,
I'll second if she hasn't.
okay. So I have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor vote yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed vote no.
No.
Okay. And how did the vote turn out, Jess?
Were there just two of you that voted no?
It sounded that way.
Sounded that way to me.
Did you vote yes?
I voted
Okay, yes, so we had, okay, so it passes.
Did I vote no?
What's the,
voted
what is the
yes.
tally?
I voted yes.
Is it 5-2?
The two no's for Allen Park and Irvine.
So it's 5-2?
Yes.
Okay. So we will move into executive session in 2 minutes now.
that's just kind of lay out how it works, and we'll continue to update that.
Okay. That's all we have on the agenda. Our meeting is adjourned.